Bij deze open ik het gesprek met Eurocommissaris Roswall, Milieu, Waterweerbaarheid en een concurrerende circulaire economie. Hereby, I would like to open this meeting with the European Commissioner for Environment, Water Resilience and a Competitive Circular Economy, Ms. Jessica Roswall. I warmly welcome Ms. Roswall and her team and express my appreciation for her presence here today in the House of Representatives. Additionally, I also would like to extend a warm welcome to the members of Parliament. Present are members from the Committee on Infrastructure and Water Management and the Committee on Agriculture, Fisheries, Food Security and Nature. Furthermore, I wish to highlight that both committees have appointed several EU rapporteurs for the policy areas under the Commissioner's portfolio. In the Committee on Infrastructure and Water Management, concerning both circular economy and the environmental aspects of the Clean Industrial Deal, the EU rapporteurs are the members of Parliament Buijsen and Gabriels. For the REACH revision, the members Kostic and Koekoek have been appointed. In the Committee on Agriculture, Fisheries, Food Security and Nature, regarding the revision and evaluation of the Nitrates Directive, the members of Parliaments Holman, Vedder and myself have been appointed as EU rapporteurs. Lastly, I would like to extend my welcome to the audience in the gallery and those watching from home. This meeting is scheduled until 7:30 p.m. and considering the presence of multiple members per political party, I propose that each member poses one question each. I would now like to give the floor to you, Ms. Roswall, and I would like to ask you to give a short introduction and to provide a brief opening statement, about 5 to 10 minutes. Please.
Thank you, Chair. Honourable members, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honour for me to be here today and exchange with you on the work that we intend to do in the European Commission on environment, water resilience and a competitive circular economy. The way I approach my portfolio starts from the basic understanding that the environment, the economy and our society are all interlinked. They are all part of the same system. Progress in one area should be designed in a way that is also positively effective other areas. Our policies should protect the health and the environment while also creating business opportunities and boosting competitiveness. This is a delicate but necessary balancing act. I would even add another dimension to it, and it is security. As politicians, of course, this is our core task to protect our citizens and our societies. One of the biggest political tasks to me is that we do this work together. It's about our resilience also on the global challenges that we are now facing. Resilience, and then when I say resilience, I mean that in a broad sense, because our security is at stake, our economic security, our water security, and our food security. So we have a lot of robust policy framework in place to achieve carbon neutrality and also to restore our nature and our valuable ecosystem services, on which more or less half our economy depends on. And we have well-established legislation on pollution too. Now we need to focus on implementation, to implement those policies to the ground, and we need to do that in a simple and effective way. You know that the Commission wants to reduce the reporting burden by at least 25% for all companies and 35% for SMEs without undermining our policy objectives. Simplification does not mean deregulation, let's be clear about that. Our policies exist for a good reason. So that will be no change, but we want to make it easier for people and businesses to comply with the law. Here we rely a lot on the member states and stakeholders to help us in this process. In addition, there are some areas that we need to develop much stronger in the European policies. Faced with high energy costs and fierce and often unfair competition, our industries are in need urgent support. For this, the Commission has recently presented the Clean Industrial Deal, and that will support the competitiveness and the resilience of our industry and foster the demand for clean products. It will accelerate the decarbonisation while safeguarding manufacturing in Europe. It will reorientate our economic model from a linear to a circular one. To be a global leader, we need to act fast and show determination. We cannot be outpaced by other large economies and thereby increase our dependencies. Dependencies are becoming vulnerabilities. That's the word of Mario Draghi. I just want to give one example on food production. Today, the EU's food sovereignty largely depends on imports, such as fertilizers, feed, and energy, and that is very risky. The rest of our economy is also vulnerable. 2023 alone, the EU imported critical raw materials worth some 46 billion euros. We depend entirely on China for imports of rare earths. 78% of lithium is imported from Chile. So reducing strategic dependencies and de-risking our supply chain is crucial. We need to develop our own supply base, and one answer clearly lies in the circular economy. The circular economy ensures that valuable materials are being reused and recycled instead of going to waste. Here in the Netherlands, you are the leader in the EU. Your circularity is almost 31%, compared to the EU's average is 12%. So you really show the way. And it's needed because out of 8 billion tons of raw materials that we need each year, only 10% comes from recycled materials. When we talk about critical raw materials, the drop is below 1%. So we need to create a true single market for secondary raw materials, and we need to generate demand and also improve supply. We are looking at all the issues and will propose a solution in the upcoming Circular Economy Act. For me, this is more than just a legislative proposal. It's a vision that Europe that leads the world in sustainable innovation and resilience. It is a commitment to transform the way that we use resources, manage waste, and build a competitive economy that works for both people and the planet. And here I would say your input will be very valuable for me in the process. As we are shaping our economy for the next decades, we should not be blind for the value of nature and the economic benefits that we enjoy from a healthy ecosystem. Soil is one good example. Soil is a strategic asset, and we have to take much better care of it. 60% of the soil in Europe is depleted. This increases our vulnerability to climate disasters like flood and droughts. Clean, fresh water is another example of a strategic natural resource. We need water to live, of course. We need water to grow our food. But clean water is important for our industry and digital competitiveness. Nearly every economic sector depends on it in one way or another. Just think about cooling, power plants, or server parks. However, our water in the Union is not in a good state. Only a third of surface water bodies in the EU have a good ecological status. This is a wake-up call for all of us. We must act decisively to safeguard our water supply and avoid devastating cost. The Netherlands is the world leader in water management and water technologies. I'm also keen to listen to your experience. Finally, a word on farming and food. Last month, my colleague Christoph Hansen presented the vision for agriculture and food. And the vision underlines that farming and food are strategic sectors for the EU. We must therefore ensure that those sectors can thrive under every circumstance. Farmers essentially are driver on twofold services to our society. On the one hand, they provide food security for more than 450 million people in our union. On the other hand, farmers are also custodians of our environment. Here in the Netherlands, many hard-working generations of Dutch farmers have turned the country into an agriculture superpower and world-class exporter. But the sector has faced a lot of hardship in the past years. Many farmers are angry and feel their lives in uncertain times, that their livelihoods are at stake. My approach, together with Commissioner for Agriculture Christoph Hansen, who came here a few weeks ago, is that farmers need to and will want to be a part of the solution. We want to future-proof the farm sector in Europe and create opportunities for farmers. At the same time, we cannot ignore our planetary boundaries, as doing so would undermine the very future of farming. So we have set this out in the vision for food and agriculture. And nature and agriculture goes hand in hand, and we want to make sure that farmers benefit from this too. How? For example, by developing extra means of income. I believe that the bioeconomy can present opportunities for the farming sector, and later this year I will present the EU bioeconomy strategy, and we have just launched a consultation on that. To round up, of course I cannot ignore the issue of nutrients. I'm familiar with the huge challenge this poses for your country, impacting the sectors from housing and energy to ports and of course also agriculture. For the last 20 years, the Netherlands has been granted a lot of flexibility through derogations, but we cannot turn a blind eye to the impact. There is a hidden cost to farming itself and to the society. A nitrogen blanket hangs over the country, and this has impact on health, on nature, on water. And also 70% of the Dutch citizens see pollution as the main threat to water. The Commission wants to support you, but we need to ensure that the EU legislation is complied with. We also need to be mindful of the level playing field and the measures on other member states have managed to take the deal with their nitrogen emissions. I know the challenges is enormous, but I also believe that with great challenges comes great opportunities. The Netherlands, which is a rich agriculture tradition, has the chance to shape the future where farmers thriving within the planetary boundaries, where our water are clean and where our food supplies is ensured. I will leave it with this and so we have enough time to also further discussion. I'm very happy to answer your question. I'm very happy to be here and build on the good relation that we have on our cooperation. The EU needs Netherlands to be strong and engaged to deliver on our agenda on competitiveness and sustainability. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Commissioner. And again, we are very happy that you are here to discuss all these important topics with us. Out now, I'd like to give way to the members for their questions. And I would suggest if we collect 3 questions of members each and then ask you to answer. Is that okay for you? Okay, let's start with Mr. Holman, Nieuw Sociaal Contract.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to ask a question about agriculture. Dear Commissioner, given the serious factual and political deadlock we are currently facing, in the Netherlands known as the manure crisis, partly due to losing the derogation, what advice would you offer to help us achieve a future-proof and sustainable agriculture? How can we solve our very serious problems?
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Ms. Bromet, Green Left Labour.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear you speak about planetary boundaries. We have big problems in the Netherlands with nature, with quality of water, too much cattle and manure, pesticides. And our government thinks the solution is a new derogation. I don't think it's useful, I myself, but I'm curious about your opinion about a new derogation.
Thank you. Ms. Nijhoff-Leeuw, Freedom Party.
Thank you. The Netherlands has a surplus on manure. Several EU countries are struggling with a shortage of manure. Could you reflect on the idea that the Dutch surplus can supplementing the manure shortage in other countries instead of the expensive fertilizer?
Thank you. Madam Commissioner.
Okay. Thank you very much for the questions. As I said, I work very closely with Christoph Hansen, and maybe some of the last questions is more in his portfolio. But I will try to answer it in a general perspective. As I mentioned also in my first intervention, I know the blanket that is on in the Netherlands. I would just like to start a little bit because go back a little bit in time. The Nitrate Directive, if I may talk about that first, that is in one way old directive. It's been there since the 90s. It was agreed among the member states for good reasons. It's about protecting water from pollution. I talked a lot about water in my first intervention because we all need water. We need clean water. And for the last 20 years, the Netherlands have been granted a lot of flexibility through different derogation and solutions. And as I also said, we cannot turn a blind eye to the impact that has had to the Netherlands. And that there is also a hidden cost in this itself, and that you see with these blankets. Of course, you need to address this. And as I said, the Commission has during these 20 years also been supportive and flexible. We will continue to be supportive. That was your question, how can we help? But I would say my message is also that you have to do your part, having discussion in your countries. We give the support, but it's your country, and the ball is in your court, also, so to say. And I urge to have dialogue, discussions, but also have results. You have the message in the Netherlands. I believe myself in inclusive dialogue with all the stakeholders, be also frank and open what is this to do. I welcome, of course, that you have a ministerial commission in your government, and I hope that we give results. We are looking for results, and the Commission has been very flexible in a long time, so now we need to see the results. So that is my message. On a new derogation, as I said, again, a little bit the same answer. You have had that for a long time. We have not received one, but I would say first we need to see the results. But of course we will discuss that. But I mean, the flexibilities have been there for a long time, and it's again a little bit also about it's also about the level playing field. So it's something that we has to take into account. So the ball is in the court for the Netherlands to decide on how you can deliver the results, because it's about delivering clean and water for people and for the environment. And as I also said, why the vision for agriculture and food was very clear also on the strategy where we're going to go. We need future-proof farming. And that also counts for healthy soil and clean water. And we need to address that. That is also clear in the vision. And that is also something that we all need to do. And then it was about the fertilizer project. It's also in the... Oh, the renew rate, basically. Sorry, yeah. Yeah, can you please rephrase the question? So
Ms. Nijvliel?
Yes, I will try in my best English. There are a lot of EU countries who has shortage in manure. We in the Netherlands have a lot of. So how can the Dutch help the other countries to maintain, to balance it in the EU?
Thank you very much. Yeah, if I do understand right, yes, we have, the question will be, of course, the renew question, and that is something that the Commission put forward.
Yes, I'm sorry, this is the voting bell for... it's okay if you wait, it's about a minute, so we can wait for it. So there's no fire.
No, I'm learning. I've been a parliamentarian in Sweden for very many years, but we have another system. But of course we have this.
Really?
Yeah. But it doesn't sound as long. But anyway, sorry to. But I can tell maybe afterwards how it works. But no, no, it's not. No. We can take that afterwards. Because, anyway, no. For I don't know exactly when, but the Commission proposed the renew as one possibility. Also, how to and that is of course if there would be a decision. So far, it has not been in this committee among the member states, and that would of course be allowed to export in other countries. But so far we don't have any decision on the renewal within this committee. It demands a unanimous decision.
Okay, Mr. Gabriels.
Yeah, thank you very much for being here, and so many questions also about PFAS and circular economy, but I will ask the question about water. And about the European, the infringement procedure that the European Commission started under the Water Directive. And yeah, it's because we give permits for indefinite period. And I'd like to know what happens if we do not achieve the goals.
Thank you. Mr. Buijsen, Liberal Party.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Can you elaborate on the situation of, in particular, the circular plastics industry? And in addition of this, are there options to battle the inflow of cheap Chinese virgin plastics? Thank you very much.
And Mr. Pierik, Farmer Citizen Movement.
Thanks. And I have also a question about the derogation, of course. Years of reporting shows that the nitrate concentration in groundwater in the Dutch derogation farms are actually lower than the non-derogation farms. Since 21, those concentrations have dropped even further, and in most regions they are now below the European norm of 50 milligrams per liter. Despite this, the derogation is currently being phased out and will eventually be discontinued. One possible consequence is that the conversation, that we see a conversation from grassland in arable crops, arable land, which carries the risk of worsening water quality due to the increasing nitrate concentration in groundwater. So instead of bringing the targets closer, ending the derogation maybe actually push water quality standard further out of reach. That will, I would like, that why I would ask your opinion on maintaining and reintroduction some form of grassland derogation or another form of derogation. Precisely as I mean of protection water quality. This could help maintain of downward trend in nitrate concentration. That's my question.
Thank you, Mr. Pierik. Commissioner.
Let me, on the infringement, I will start with saying one thing that I've been very clear from the beginning, that's my personality. I do believe in dialogue. And that I think that is where we always start. Of course, so what will happen then? Of course, we also follow a specific, not a strategy, but an order. When you start with a letter and then you start with following up, and of course at the end you have to go exactly all the way. But that is not my game. My goal is that we, of course, always try to solve solutions. I am looking for results for people's. For the environment, for whatever it is. But also I would say add to that, my job as a commissioner for the whole of Europe is to see that we have a level playing field, that everybody, every member state follow the same rules. That's why we have this, especially for when it comes to water, for example, because water is nothing that is within the national boundaries. It's also something that a cross-country question. So water is a typical good example also why the union is really important and that we also cherish it so much. But on the specific question, we will follow up also on horizontal exercise on that. But it's a lot of different actions going on to different member states. So, but I would say that is my one of the reasons, of course, I'm here also to see where the way forward. Can I elaborate with circularity and plastic in cheap Chinese products? I would say, first, I would say both commend how circular you are in the Netherlands. So I'm impressed compared to other countries. The country I know best is below this EU average. So I would say this is, for me, really important. I think the momentum now to go to circularity fully, maybe it's too bold to say, but improve is now, because we have a situation in the world that is challenging. We need to be more circular for many reasons, both because the resilience, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, on the materials, not only plastic, but plastic, I will come back to that, critical materials like not only earth, there are also other critical materials that we also need, cement and steel and so forth, so we need to be more circular on that reason. The other thing is that I think, and it's also about decarbonization, because if we go more circular, we will also decrease our emissions. And also it is a business case for Europe. We need to build Europe more economic strength, and here is circularity will help, because the materials is also expensive. But we need to get the business case, and then we need to scale it up. And then I will go to plastic, because plastic is one example that we have legislations also on the EU level. I know you have, but I think we also need to scale it up, and that we need to do in the single market. We need to have industry recycling, reuse market, industry that also have the products, and that is the little bit of the complication. And here I think it's important to have standards that are within the EU, because otherwise, I mean, even you are many people in the Netherlands compared to Sweden, but still it's maybe not enough. We need to have these 450 million people. So, and plastic is of course a challenge in one way, because as you rightly say, we have rules talking about level playing field. Of course, we see that the businesses in Europe are under huge pressure of many reasons, high energy prices, and also not an uneven level playing field, because everybody doesn't fill the rules that we have. And the problem with some of the plastic that's coming in is due to don't have the same rules when it comes to chemicals. And we have rules on what to put in the European market, so we need to be better also on surveillance and other things. But I think this is one of the reasons that we also need to look at plastic in a new way. I just want to say we're also looking forward to have we have a plastic agreement that didn't conclude in November, December last year, but we have a new opportunity in August in Geneva, which I'm looking forward to, because I think that this plastic is also a question for the global situation, because we use too much plastic. On the question on derogations again. We a little bit answer it, and as I said, I think that I mean, the ball is also in your courtyard, and we need to, as we have been also flexible for a long time. I'd also want to say that there is no, I don't think I can have. I'll go. I use my own brain. I think that is better. sorry. No, but I mean, one thing that I already also answered is the renew question that we are following up. I mean, we are put that on the agenda, trying to get that agreement. But I would say that going forward, we also need the result from the Netherlands. Because it's not sustainable to have farming built on derogation and having this block that you talk about and I talked about for the country. So it's important to also see results, and that is the most important message that I have, that you need to discuss with the different stakeholders on how to go further. And we also know, because we know the situation for water in Netherlands, but we also know how impact it has on people's health, the environment, and so forth. So it's important to move forward on this one. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kostic, Animals Party.
Yes. Party for the animals. Yes. Party animals, yeah. I also love dialogue, but I love results more. And what we have seen in the last decades is that we are crossing. You have talked about the planetary boundaries. There are 9 now indicated, and we have crossed 6 of them. And it's not looking very good. Talking only about water, my colleague Gabriel has mentioned the Water Framework Directive. We had more than 20 years as the Netherlands to get those goals done, and we haven't come even near. So my main question for Ms. Roswall is, what are you going to do? What are the top 3 actions that you're going to do to get the results done when it comes to coming in closer within those planetary boundaries? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bamenga, Democrats.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, the Commissioner, for answering the questions. My question is whether the Commissioner is committed to upholding the proposed ban on the PFAS chemicals, because we are having warnings from the newspapers about a very aggressive and successful lobby by the industry. And I just heard the Commissioner say we need a future-proof farming as well. So that's why also the question, is it her intention to include the PFAS use in all sectors, including agriculture uses?
Thank you. Ms. Pot, Democrats as well.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you very much for being here and taking the time to talk to us. I'm afraid I will build again on the question of my colleague from the party animals. Sorry, you won't get rid of that. I'm so sorry. And also on your previous remark regarding dialogue and looking for results, because, well, I think I agree with my colleague when I say that the Netherlands doesn't really have a very impressive record when it comes to these results and when it comes to upholding the law on nature restoration, on preservation goals. And our national court has been very critical of that, on the government's efforts as well, and as well as the European Commission, who have also been very critical and who has oftentimes judged the Dutch effort as insufficient. Now, consequently, starting infringement procedures on the Habitats Directive and the Water Framework Directive haven't been successful. So my question is, are there any other tools in the Commission's toolbox to ensure these nature and water goals? And is the Commission planning on using them?
Thank you, members. Commissioner.
Thank you very much. My 3 top. I will go back to my title maybe. No, don't need, maybe put a little, because of course I have one. I would say one thing is that we need to do this together to reach. What would I say? We have decided in the. I have my mission letter. We have von der Leyen's guidelines where we know where to go. We need to make competitiveness, Europe competitive, clean, and resilient. And I would say when it comes to the things that you ask about, circularity is one, as I really already mentioned. I think that this is a key for both when it comes to competitiveness, climate, resilience. That is one thing that I'm focusing a lot on, both in the short and long perspective. The other thing is water, as I also mentioned. How can we make, because that's about both the climate and environment, but it's also about resilience. We need to have a resilient water situation. Today we have too much water, sometimes we have too little water, the water is polluted. I think we cannot underestimate the importance of water, so that I pushed a lot of pressure, not a lot of political pressure in, and that I would like to stress here, of course, in a country like Netherlands. I know you have never taken water for granted, but I mean, a lot of other countries have, and maybe especially in my country. But the situation in Europe is really not in a good shape. And the last point I would say I'm going to focusing on is the bioeconomy. Bioeconomy is a big industry already today, but it can be bigger. It's an opportunity for Europe, a possibility, an untapped potential, call it whatever you like. I have a lot of words, but I think that this is also about decarbonizing, because it's about changing fossil products to fossil-free products, nature-based, bio-based. It's about also innovation, it's about competitiveness. So that's what I'm going to do, my 3 ping points, if you ask me. On the PFAS, I'm working very close with Commissioner Stéphane Séjourné. On this, we have the mission to seek clarity when it comes to PFAS. We are looking at chemicals as such, of course. We are going to have a modernization, trying to do a modernization of the REACH regulation. And of course the clarity on PFAS. As you know, because Netherlands was one of the countries, 5 countries who did apply also on ban on PFAS. And that is an ongoing discussion, not a discussion, an evaluation at the ECHA agency in Helsinki, and they are doing this now. And it's a huge impact assessment, because PFAS, as you know, is not one substance, it's 10,000 of substances, so it's not easy. I would say, if I'm going to include agriculture or not, I would say that is not an issue I can answer today. I have said like this: we are going to try to seek a ban when it comes to consumer products, to have PFAS in consumer products. So that is the first step. That's one thing that I said. And then we're, of course, seeking clarity, because we also know that we need PFAS in a lot of essential products. For example, when it comes to green transition, digital transition, when it comes to defense, when it comes to medical, pharma, a lot of things. So, I mean, I think this is a really important discussion to have. On the last question on what the situation, yes, as I said on earlier, I mean, yes, you're talking about the Netherlands courts. Of course, we also have the European Court of Justice that also have decided on the nitrogen directive that all member states have to do additional measures as soon as possible, also to see the results. And I just also want to add that we are, this is an important question for all of us. We all, as I said, we all need clean water and to our society, not only for the crops or for the companies or for business, but also for the pollinators, because they play an important role. So we know that this is a risk, and that is why I'm also very engaged in the question. With that said, what is the new tools that we have? Other tools, not the new tools, but one thing I cannot I want to point out again is dialogue, of course. The rules has to be clear, and that is something, of course, when we talk about simplification, how can we see that the rules are clear and is implemented? And that is where I can go into each member state also to look that the implementation is good. We will continue our support to farmers and member states. We have a lot of different tools there. Of course, the most obvious and biggest one maybe is the CAP. There is support in the CAP how to do sustainable farming. Also in other issues when it comes to water, there is also money and investments when it comes to in the cohesion fund. I would continue to offer my services also to support in different practices that there is. Maybe I should add one thing that I think a little bit back to dialogue. I think I'm coming from Sweden. We have a situation in the Baltic Sea that is quite devastating, actually. So there we see that the countries around the Baltic Sea is working together, because I think that is one not quick solution, but the way forward to have a greater cooperation. And also just on the best practices, one thing you can also look at is the Denmark that have decided together in this big dialogue stakeholder part that farmers, policy, industry working together and on the rules to come to have a future-proof environment and farming. So there's a lot of things in the toolbox that we're also using at the moment, of course, also. Thank you.
Thank you. And let's go to Mr. Boutkan from the Party for Freedom for your question.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I have a question about fluoropolymers. The new German government has written the following in its coalition agreement: no total ban on PFAS explicit, but replacement where alternatives are available. We reject a total ban on dust groups. We argue for a balanced European regulation framework with a risk-based approach in the chemical policy within REACH. The question is, what influence does this have on the ongoing process in Brussels?
Thank you, Mr. Boutkan. And if the members allow me to ask a question as well, I would like to ask you again about the nitrate directive, because I think you are very, very clear when it comes to the necessity of results, results, results. I think I'm going to count how often you said it in answering all the questions. No, that's very important. And my question would be actually to if we can make it a bit more concrete, because 2025 will become a very important year for the Netherlands. We are working on, at least the government is working on the 8th Environmental Action Programme to work on the status of our polluted water. And I would like to ask you, when would you like to see these results from the Netherlands? And how much pressure is on it? Because as you pointed it as well, the Commission has been very flexible with the Netherlands these last 20 years. And there was always the expectation that it will be again that flexible again. So perhaps we can make it a bit more concrete when it comes to the expectations for the nitrate directive. Commissioner.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the question. I a little bit answer the PFAS, where I'm also heading at the direction on the clarity, but it will, as a little bit said on the discussion on essential. I would say that the German agreement confirms also the direction of travel for the question of PFAS. And as have I seen, and I think it's important to say that we also do decisions ongoing. We have very well, maybe we are ongoing, but maybe we haven't decided yet. But I think we know that we are going to decide or have decided on the ban on fire foams, for example, and last autumn on pizza boxes and training clothes and other things. But that is not neither sustainable to do product by product. I think you need to also have this, try to seek a ban on consumer products. But I think the German example you bring up shows the director of travel and also the 5 countries that have also put forward. I would say also in the Council, among a lot of member states, is a high pressure on trying to seek a ban also on consumer products and others. But as I said, we also need a lot of PFAS for our daily life, for example, in medical practical products. Can I be even more clear? Well, yes, I can, or what is the next step? I've been, I will repeat maybe myself, because the Commission has been very flexible for a long time and asked for result, and that is also, I mean, the possibility to deliver or give derogation. That is also just to mention that the derogation is made not by the Commission, it's made by in a committee by all the member states. Like the Renew, it's the same committee more or less, I think. Anyway, so that is one thing. And if the possibility to give the derogation is that you also live up to some of the statement in that, and that we have not seen so far. So I mean, that is also to have a new one. If that's not on the table yet, you have not put forward that, but that you have to deliver some, you see the results again. The best word I can use, because otherwise it's impossible to continue. I don't think it's sustainable to build something on derogation all the time. That is not sustainable for the nature, not sustainable for the farmer sector, because everybody needs predictability to do the needed investments, and the nature definitely need it, and the people's health also need it. So that is as clear as I can be today, of course, because I would say that we have been flexible, we have been supportive. So now it's up to the Netherlands. As I said, the ball is in your courtyard. You need to do your job. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Holman for our next round, I think.
Okay, thank you. I would like to invite the Commission to be even more clear. It will help us to find a solution. One of the agreements in the 7th Action Programme is to establish a land-based dairy system. Government did not even start yet to organize this. What do you think of the potential of this land-based approach to achieve the goals and deliver what was promised to the EU to organize?
Thank you, Mr. Holman. Ms. Bromet, Green Left, Labour.
You say you need to do your own job, but what if we don't do our own job? What's the next step? Is that an infringement procedure or sincere cooperation?
Ms. Nijhoff, Party for Freedom. Mr. Gabriels, Green Left, Labour.
The same question for the water crisis, because we are maybe very good on management and technology, but not as it comes to quality. So also your reflection on that. But the question is about the circular economy. Are there some ideas to have a spatial planning in European Union where to build the facilities for research and the facilities for recycling capacities to do it on a spatial scale? Because maybe in Spain there's a better opportunity to do recycling stuff, but maybe in the Netherlands more research. I do not know. But is there any ideas on that plan?
Thank you, Commissioner.
So, well, it is not up to the Commission to decide on what to do. That's my message also. We have, the Commission together with the Member States in the 90s decided on the directive. It's going to be, implementing is for the Member States. So I'm pushing back, sorry, because it is you to have to decide. I will not say you have to do this and this. You have to live up to the directive. That's how things is working. I mean, I think that's how we do all the legislations, more or less. And what is the next step? I don't want to talk about that because I want to see, I mean, we need results now. I would rather focus on what can you do now? How can we support that maybe? I mean, that is where I am now. I think that is for people and for the environment and for everybody the most important pressure thing. And that is also to take away the lock that is in your country. Circular economy. I mean, one thing that I think that we should focus a lot on many reasons now is the single market. We are in a challenging time of many reasons now, and then I think that we need to cherish the single market that is 450 million people. But we have had for many years, but still we don't have this really true single market because we have a lot of things that is 27 different rules for waste, for example. And I would say, and so you're very fair and good question, but I don't have a place that you should put a recycling site plot there. And I know there are plenty of good examples in Netherlands. My thing that I answered on the plastic earlier was that I think that we need to have the single market to actually build enough of supply to have the demand to actually have this full-scale possibility when it comes to recycle operators. When I meet, for example, operators when it comes to plastic or metal scrap, there is this issue of fear of lacking products or materials to recycle. So I think that that is key, and that is also why I'm focusing on how to define waste, for example. When is a waste? How can you decide that? But on facilitating is research, we have a lot of research within the current long-term budget, for example, in Horizon. I would say one thing that is also in the Commission's decision on competitiveness compass is that we need to focus and invest more in research because we have not, we are again out. Well, other countries are ahead of us when it comes to investments in research and development, and I think that is a good starting point. We need to close the gap, so to say, between other regions in the world and Europe. So that is a lot of focus, and I do believe back to bioeconomy again, because I think bioeconomy is circularity also, and that have a lot of innovation and research in its own DNA. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Buijsen, Liberal Party.
Thank you very much, and thank you for answering the questions I asked before. In particular, referring to the global plastics agreement, what you mentioned, which will be a next trial in August. My question is, what is your commitment that you will bring to this meeting?
Thank you. Member Pierik, Farmers Party.
Thanks, Chairman. I have another question about the surface water. Could you share your view on the fact that the water quality of surface water in the Netherlands appears to be insufficient, mainly on paper, because the Netherlands has stricter standards than countries like Germany and Belgium?
And finally, Member Kostic.
Thank you. I'll just
Party for the animals.
Thank you very
Party
much.
for the animals.
That's right. I'll just go quickly back to my first question, because I feel that was a bit misunderstood when I asked the Commissioner how to get the results. I didn't ask really the focus on thematical focus. I asked the concrete actions to get us below those critical planetary boundaries, which we are now clearly breaching. So top 3 concrete actions which we can accept. For example, is the Commissioner prepared to ban imports from outside the European Union when it comes to ultra-fast fashion? I'm just naming one very concrete example.
Thank you.
Oh, there was 3 already.
Commissioner, yes.
So on the plastic treaty agreement, if there is one, I hope so. I would say we were disappointed when we didn't reach an agreement in November, December. But we all know that it is also very difficult at the moment to reach multilateral agreements. So with that said, I also want to mention that we were happy in Rome for a couple of weeks ago that we did reach an agreement on biodiversity, which is good both for biodiversity, but also for in the context that we're living in, that we show that we can make agreements in this. So that is one thing. So what is my commitment? I would say I think this is the European Union, all the member states is very committed to reach an agreement, but not. It has to be with high ambitions. And one thing that I'm talking about, it cannot only be the recycle part. It has to be the full value chain, of the full. Life cycle of plastic, if you may say so. So that is my commitment. But I do. We are very aligned within the European Union, which is a good thing also when it comes to this negotiation. So I'm looking. I'm hopeful that we will reach an agreement in Geneva. On the surface water, yes, I think one thing that I said on these reports, maybe I didn't say, but in early February I did present a lot of reports on the situation for water all across Europe. And the situation is bad all across Europe. No country is spared. We all have different challenges. But that is one message, and also I was very clear on that press conference to say you should not compare the different countries, because it's not possible, because we also measure a little bit different. rightly or wrongly, but that's how it is. We have, but of course, the standards between member states should be the same. But as I also said in the first, I think one of the first questions is one challenge that we have with water legislation is that member states have not implemented them enough. So that is of course a challenge if they implement differently. So that is my job, of course, to see that it's implemented across all countries. So that would be my answer on that. Sorry to have misunderstood your question, but I will say we have, of course, if I may maybe take your, because difficult and easy question, maybe. I don't know where to start. I started in a broader perspective, highlight. I'm sorry for that, but I think that is a good way also to approach the challenges that we are into, and I think that is one of my things that I want to do. If I may just say, the ultra-fast fashion, just for a couple of weeks ago, we concluded an agreement between the co-legislators on textiles and food waste, which was a very good decision, because now we have targets on how to recycle, and how much of textiles that need to be recycled. We have also decisions on not to unsold clothes, your textiles, you're not allowed to burn or put to wayside directly. You need to reuse them. We also have one thing that is also going to be in place is the broader extended producer responsibility scheme. That is also important for being more sustainable when it comes to textile, because textile is not only a growing waste mountain. It's also something that we need to be back to circularity, be more, think more about how we use and how how we can be more sustainable. So I think that is one legislation that we already have decided on. I think that is one good thing. Concrete, I would say I'm looking a lot of simplification because we have done a lot of things, and I think that implementation is one way of doing simplification. We have high ambitions when it comes to environment and climate. That is good. We are staying the course, but I think that we need to if we want to reach the goals, we have many good laws now. So focus on the implementation, and I would say that implementation of a lot of the different rules that we decided on will be more simplification. One thing that I may give a concrete example is to use the data only once, because you and I meet a lot of industries, businesses, farmers who complain on the burden that we have put on them. And then to use the data only once is one way of doing simplification, and that is about implementation. So we have done that, for example, in the nature restoration law just recently. So it's a lot of things that I can answer on that. So I would not prefer to say this is the most important, because I see the world is more complex than saying this is what, but that's why I started with those three that is most important in my portfolio. That was the last one.
Thank you, Commissioner, and I really admire the way you answer all our questions from 4 standing committees. So I would like to ask the members if we feel the necessity to proceed until 19:30, or if we can leave it with this round. So then we have Mr. I think Bamenga, Pot, Mr. Boutkan as well, and then we finalize this round, and then we can make an end of it. Okay, is it okay for you as well? Okay, that's we like as well. Mr. Bamenga, Democrats.
Thank you very much. I heard the Commissioner say that the PFAS chemical ban will firstly focus on the consumer products. I can imagine, if I'm a consumer, that I'm also willing to make a healthy decision for myself. So we could help consumers by introducing, for instance, labels on products with PFAS chemicals. So consumers can have their own opportunity to make the choices the healthy choices and be more aware about what they are using or buying or putting in their body. What is the view of the Commissioner on that?
Thank you. Ms. Pot, Democrats.
Yes, thank you. You mentioned a couple of times that it's up to member states how to choose the ways that they want to achieve the clean water goal. Considering this, how do you reflect on the comments made by your colleague Hansen, who emphasized that he does not believe a reduction in the number of farm animals is necessary to achieve environmental goals?
Mr. Boutkamp, Party for Freedom.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I still have a question about the polymers and PFAS, because France has provisionally asked for a Critical Chemicals Act, and 7 other member states have responded positive. But Germany has responded with a roll. Also, in the report of Mr. Draghi, he assumed that the PFAS must be more preserved of the reduction that was proposed. The question is, what can this attitude of Germany mean for the competition position of business in Europe compared to countries outside of Europe?
Thank you. And finally, myself, I would like to ask you about the ideas of the Commission to evaluate the nitrate directive. As we know, there's this norm of 170 kilograms per hectares. Perhaps it's quite technical, but for the Netherlands it's very important because it's connected to the derogation, and there are also some voices that say we should already anticipate on the evaluation and the change of the nitrate directive for easing, relaxing the 117 kilograms per hectare for manure. I would like to ask you, what is your opinion about the voices who say we should already anticipate to the relax of this norm in the nitrate directive?
Okay, let me elaborate a little bit on labels, because I mean, we can agree on, well, we do agree that we need some clarity on PFAS, and PFAS is a question that is a major concern for all of us, for the people, as the country I know best, in my constituency, we have a lot of PFAS in our drinking water. So of course we know that it's urgent that we do act on this. And we also know there's a lot of hotspots. I don't remember exactly the figures in Europe now, but we also have a lot. That's also a question that is all over Europe. So that is why we try, me and Stefan Sojourner, to push the question and have some clarity as fast as possible. That is my one thing that I really want to say. And as I said also, it's not easy because it's also a big impact assessment going on. On your questions on labels, I would say, I think I did think about other things, because I thought about if you're going to ask me about greenwashing, because that is also an important question. But I mean, labeling, it's important to inform consumer, because we do go and shop a lot of things, and we of course need to have it easy when we go and see that so we know what do we buy. We have a lot of different labeling in Europe. That is also something that, in my view, hinders the single market to do its full potential. Exactly on what that should be, that is too early for me to answer on, I would say. But of course, I also would like to add that we have some new possibilities when it comes to eco-design. When this, we have is working on digital product passport, which will, in my view, be a simplification and also an information that be clear both for business to business, but also for business to consumer. But then I would also add that labels can also hinder this single market if we have 27 different labelings. So I have to go back on exactly on that, but I would say we are on the right trajectory where we know where to go. On Christoph Hansen, my colleague who was here, I mean, I'm not sure that he actually said exactly that. My view was I would say, as I already said, I will not go in to say exactly what the Netherlands should do or what another country should do. I know what we have done. We have decided on in the vision for agriculture and food that we need to go for a future-proof, sustainable farming, and that also includes that we need to look into and see how can we lower nutrition farming. Sorry? Emission, exactly. So that is something that we address, and how can Commission support, as we already do. That is the aim that we do. I will not go into exactly what that will mean for your country. That will be not for me to say. That's again something that you need to decide. Again, on the PFAS, one thing that also I haven't mentioned so far is I talked about the PFAS and I talked about the REACH revision that we are going to do, modernization. Before that, we should probably have said that we are also working on the Chemical Industry Act. Me and Stefan Sejourné, Commissioner. And because that is, of course, it's an industry that is really important. We sometimes call it industry of industries because every other industry is dependent on the chemical industry. It's an important industry. It has struggles and challenges like every other industry in Europe have, with high energy cost. We know, I think you mentioned Draghi report, the regulatory burdens. This is something that, of course, it's for every business. It's not only the chemical or the bio, it's every industry. So that is something that we work on. How can we make the energy cost go down? That is my colleague Dan Jørgensen mainly. But my message is this, that we of course need to build and support the industry, so we have a strong chemical industry in Europe because we need it. With that said, I think the modernization of REACH is important. The clarity on PFAS is also important because the industry also needs to have predictability so they know how to invest. And that is what we're trying to do. And we have had one political structured dialogue together with the industry and the NGOs and investors. And when it comes to polymers, that is one question that is on the table in the modernization of REACH. But it's too early to say what that is, the next steps, I would say. 170, yeah, but it's too early to say. There is an ongoing evaluation on the nitrate directive, as you know. I would not prejudge that in this situation, but I think I've been very clear on where the trajectory is, where we need to go, all the member states, and where your trajectory is. And now I really don't remember exactly what the question was, because I write 170. I think that was a really stupid question to write.
Yeah, because it's connected to the derogation, of course, and since it's being evaluated, there are some voices in Parliament and in society and in agriculture who say, okay, perhaps this 170 norm is going to be relaxed, and perhaps we should anticipate to it already. So there is more room and space for emission for manure. And I would like to hear your opinion on what your response would be to those voices who think we can already anticipate on an relaxing of this 170 kilogram per hectare norm.
Sorry, thank you very much, Ben. No, I would say the thing that we will, as I said, we are not going to do on the green, on the climate. We are not going to lower anything. We have to keep this high standard, high environmental rules and regulation because we need it. The nature need it. The people need it. The competitiveness need it. I just want to add one question, one figure, because I think it's important to understand that this is not only due to important, of course, for people's health and environment, but because our industries depend on healthy soils and healthy water. The figure I want to mention is that 74% of the businesses within the Eurozone have corporate loans are dependent at least one eco-scheme system. So, I mean, everybody understands that we need to invest in nature. That's about building Europe strong, economic strong. Then we need it also because of it's important for our nature. I would say what you could anticipate, it's nothing about the figures I will say, what you can anticipate, and that is what I do all the time and all my commissioner colleagues do, is the simplification. How can we make things easier, simpler, more streamlined? And that is what I'm looking for also when it comes to implementation. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Commissioner. And actually, I wanted to ask you if you needed some final remarks, but perhaps you already did, or yes. So I would extend my sincere gratitude for your presence here, for the fruitful and important, engaged conversation we had here on all these important topics. And as you can see, our members of parliament are very engaged in your important responsibility in your office. So thank you also, fellow colleagues, people who are following this this conversation. And I would like to close this meeting now. Thank you.